February 23, 1897, the Daily Argus News, Crawfordsville, Indiana. The earth is flat, at least so think these deluded enthusiasts. Are making preparations with a view of proving the correctness of their theory would revise the school maps. Experiments are soon to be made on the coast of Florida for the purpose of demonstrating that the earth is not round, but flat. Strange as it may seem, there are still a great many people on this terrestrial ball who deny that it is a ball of any sort. The celebrated Professor William Carpenter, who died in Baltimore last September, was by no means the last of his faith. In a picture of the earth as these unique theorists believe it to be, or some of them, for they do not all agree, the South Pole is seen as a wall of ice surrounding the circular earth. This conception certainly fits well with the idea of the vastness of the southern wastes of ice, which have turned back all explorers. The hardy searchers for glory have come much nearer to the North Pole and have made the region around it seem small and familiar compared to that at the south, which is the true terra incognita. In the flat earth picture, the North Polar region is seen to be a small region of eternal cold in the center of the circular world. Alexander Gleason, the sage of Niagara Street, Buffalo, gave long and hard study to this great problem of the Earth's surface and spent much money in publishing books and collecting information. At one time, he advertised in a New York paper for sea captains who had made the trip from the West African coast around Cape Horn, his desire being to prove that the distance was much greater than it would be if the Earth were a sphere. The information which he obtained seemed to be satisfactory to himself, though it did not convince many scientists and geographers. The principal arguments advanced by the flat Earth theorists are that a ship might seem to sail around a ball when it merely sailed around a circle, that all the effects of day and night could be produced by a fixed sun shining down upon a circular earth, revolving like a card on a pin, and that the longest rivers have a descent of only a few feet. They say that the phenomenon at sea of the ship rising or disappearing is to be explained by refraction, and that if the earth were spherical, the compass would not point north and south. These theorists assert that Sir Isaac Newton was crazy, and Galileo and Columbus mistaken, that if the earth were a revolving globe, a projectile thrown vertically upward would not fall on the spot from which it was hurled. And all of these propositions are backed up by copious quotations from the Bible, such as the four angles at the four corners of the earth, the four winds of heaven, the angels that ascended and descended, etc. The underside of the earth, having no sun, is, say these dreamers, the place of darkness and damnation, and that it is reached only through the bottomless pit. July 3, 1902, Hendricks Pioneer, Hendricks, Minnesota. Scandinavian News. Interesting notes from across the ocean. Happenings in the fatherland. Principal events that have occurred in the old countries about the North Sea within a week or so just past. Sweden. The Swedish papers are devoting columns to a Chicagoan named McDonald, who claims that he is going to save Andre and his followers. McDonald's geography is rich in new information. The Earth, he says, is hollow, and at the North Pole is an opening into its cavity. That is where Andre and his men disappeared. McDonald holds that they are having a nice time, but he is afraid that they are homesick, and so he will take a few balloons and go there late in the summer and bring the missing men back to their friends. September 11, 1909, Lewiston Saturday Journal, Lewiston, Maine. The North Polar Hollow Hole. A few years ago, we gave in these columns an extended review of the monumental work of William Reed, a resident of the West, who had discovered the hollow earth. Mr. Reed's book, relating the details of his discovery, was illustrated by drawings, giving sundry peeks into the hole in the top of the Earth at the North Pole, showing armadas of polar explorers, excursion parties of polar bears, and swarms of giant birds gaily floating along on cakes of ice and dipping gleefully over the crest of the onrushing polar seas into the hollow globe, there to dwell apparently forever. Since then, Mr. Reed has organized the Reed Hollow Earth Exploring Club, Inc., with an unlimited membership to be equipped with 3 vessels, 1 a submarine, at least 1 large airship, a powerful telescope for looking down the hole, large mirrors with a photographic equipment for making pictures, and a huge kite for elevating the same so as to point the muzzle of the camera down the aperture and get, thereby, glimpses of things inside. Mr. Reed wrote not only books, but bulletins, one of which began, "The Earth is either hollow or it is not hollow." This remarkable statement differs somewhat from the conclusion of the original Hollow book, which declared unequivocally in favor of all hollow. Dust and birds were Mr. Reed's best evidence of the emptiness of the Earth's center. Nansen found dust, dust, dust at the farthest north. Where did it come from unless from a hole in the Earth? Where did all the strange birds come from at the farthest north and farthest south, if not from the hollow Earth, through which swept the polar current? The argument is unanswerable. There is no natural dust at the poles, except that Dr. Cook has kicked up, which is not of the hollow kind. No, sir, the dust came from a volcano with its nozzle sticking up through the hole. Now, a good many years ago, one Ezra C. Kilgore lived in Lewiston. Mr. Kilgore was also a hollow earther, or a North Polar holer. He was ahead of Reed by at least 20 years. If you will look over the Lewiston Journal's files, you will find that Kilgore beat Reed far more than Cook beat Peary, supposing he did. Kilgore, however, had no proofs the way Reed had. He did not care for proofs. He scorned them. Kilgore had convictions, a theory, and a lot of homemade drawings to prove both of them. His theory was based on the moon and on his inner consciousness that there must be a hole at top and bottom of the Earth. In his diary, which he kept for years, he made drawings of the Earth, which shows conclusively that there could be a hole in the Earth at the North Pole just as well as not. Indeed, one of Mr. Kilgore's drawings showed not only the hole itself, but a hollow earther or polar resident poking up over the edge thereof. The hole just fitted the pole, and the pole fitted the hole, with the holer braced against the pole in the hole. It was very neat. Mr. Kilgore did not pretend to give an accurate picture of this so situated resident of the hollow earth, but as it happened, his drawings resembled closely the late Elias Gove, Prince of Peace, then a resident of Lewiston, Maine. Possibly, it was some relative of Mr. Gove then dwelling in the hollow earth. While the return of Cook and Peary will put an end to the Reed Hollow Earth exploring expedition by airship and submarine, it will not settle the issue which is likely to arise as to who was the first discoverer of the polar hole. We claim the honor to belong to Maine, to that forgotten genius, Kilgore of Lewiston. But as Mr. Kilgore never organized a company or issued a bulletin, we have little hope of enforcing our claim unless the world comes to our assistance. We are not hopeless, however, on this point. Possibly the world which concedes Peary, Smith, Harpswell, and Eagle Island to Maine will be willing also to make a complete job of it and give us the honor not only of first discovering the North Pole, but also of first discovering the North Polar Hole and the hollow polar north.